So I just wanted to kind of talk about planning and intentions and formulating kind of like a concept of how your day is going to unfold. And, I feel like when there's a time to plan, there's a natural arising that can spontaneously grow and it will just come and you won't even see it coming really. And you can't plan planning in a way. And I find that I get, or in the past especially, that I felt like I needed to have a rigid plan. And I always noticed, like, why does this feel so like horrible in my body when I do this? It's like I'm simply just producing a bunch of anxiety, and the plan doesn't really, you'd think that the planning is supposed to kind of ease that or something. It's supposed to kind of give you a guide to follow, but really the only guide that I've found reliable is my inner self, my intuition, my beingness. That place where I can rest and be in the root of all things. And there's no, it's like, does the little me know exactly how to unfold? I think life can take care of itself much better. I think, the forces revolving the planets around the sun and the forces of the universe have things going down pretty well. And, if there's any planning required, they can take it. They can take this instrument over and move through it in that that type of expression and that type of movement. So there's a thing with it's like Lao Tzu would talk about the past, no matter how beautiful, cannot be held and brought forth with you into the now. It's like you cannot, when you're walking through this life and you're wanting to find truth and live your truth and everything like that. You do have experiences, but the experiences come and go, and the impressions that are made through those experiences, you leave those to your higher self, a higher power. You leave those to the universe, I feel, because I know that personally, I'll have a good experience, and then it's just like trying to keep it alive or something, and it's no longer fresh when I'm doing that. Days will follow. It's like day one is like, oh yeah, and then my mind comes in and says it was because you did this or whatever. And so day two, it's about 50% is effective, and then day three it's 25%, and then day four it's like completely dead, and it's causing pain where it was causing relief 4 days before. So it's just interesting. And through that whole process, of course, since pleasure and pain and everything else along these dual opposite poles are of the same nature, they're simply the other side of the pole. And finding the place where you are the center point of these two opposing forces. You are the Tao within the Tai Chi that dances around it. You are the pole, the spinal column along which the Kundalini forces intertwine and dance and rise. And finding that, and you're not as fussed so much about good and bad, and thus you're not caught in this trap of having to try to repeat experiences or call up an experience. The beingness, the truth isn't any one experience or any one type of thing. It's nothing and everything. It's the paradox of nothing giving rise to everything. Matter of fact, I think pleasure, or I mean pain, is honestly your greatest ally, because it is your ultimate teacher. And now, the mind wants to make interpretations about it, like I did something wrong. Don't even get into any of that. Just simply use your intuitive pulses, to kind of realign. When sensations come through, you already intuitively know without thinking about it how to navigate these things. What they mean, and what they mean is received in a wordless kind of way, it's like in a vibration kind of feeling kind of way. It's like impressions upon your consciousness that already impart all the knowing within them. It's already self-contained and everything's complete, and there's no formulation or thinking about it, you know. And you can contemplate, you know, simply in silence about these things. If you're unclear, you can always ask and sit and wait. You know, that's totally a valid thing too. But there's a tendency to interpret when a feeling comes, and generally pain, when it comes, it's a bad interpretation, and pleasure, it's a good interpretation, you know. I know the Buddhists would say that pleasure is often more dangerous because complacency and arrogance can really seep in, really creep in during those times. And because you feel so great, it's just like, yeah, so what? You know, I'm enlightened. It's fine. I'm here. I got it. You know, and that's once you know, when you learn to notice that one, it can be subtle at first because again, it's a feel goody kind of thing. But once you notice that, you immediately go, oh, wait a minute, no, that's not me. That's not it. Okay, be quiet. Keep quiet. You know, shh. That's enough of that. You know, but you know, the other thing I learned, speaking of this, kind of a sidetrack about planning, but the other thing I learned is like, don't stop anything. You know, you don't while you don't want to plan everything out, you don't want to stop anything either. I don't know. I'm trying to connect those two things. Like, I have to have one subject in these talks, but don't stop anything. So thoughts, like, you know, you have to learn to find the space, you know, almost like your background. There's a, like, if thoughts come in, sometimes it can feel like that's the foreground and then that takes you over there. But if you learn to keep your attention on your roots, and you notice that when, you know, and not control anything, you notice when those things come in that your beingness is bearing witness to this and is untouched and is still there. And the more attention you put on that, the more you realize that, yeah, these things are just, they're really heavy clouds coming in, and it makes the sky, it covers the sky, but the sky is not touched. The sky is there, and you just relax into the beingness of the sky. You know, you relax into the deep ocean and let the waves, you know, crash and smash. And if there's a tsunami, that's fine. You remain in the deep ocean. You remain your attention, which is a very powerful power, a godly power. It's a beautiful gift from the creation. And that attention is very strong. Where you place it, the things that are coming through that receive your attention are amplified in their strength. Think about, like, things you don't even pay any attention to. They're literally, you're completely impervious to. They don't make any impressions on your consciousness. You know, if there's a car driving by and I give no attention to it whatsoever, no sensory, the senses function normally, but I give no thought, no attention to it whatsoever, it's completely meaningless to me. Whereas another person, the car drives by and it could give them a panic attack for all I know, you know. I mean, because it triggers something else that's got a lot of attention and focus to it, and then blah 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 blah, so on and so forth, and it triggers this anxiety thing. I mean, it's crazy. But it's beautiful to, you know, not forcing, like, not closing off thoughts. Just know what it is, you know, knowing what it is and being in your true place. These things, you'll notice them coming and going, and it's not bearing you any kind of stress because you're not taking them for something that's you are doing. It's just, you know, there's a tendency to think, you know, it's interesting because, okay, say you didn't know any language, you know, you didn't know any words or anything like that. These thoughts that come in that are using English, for example, blah blah blah. It's like, well, if those are no different than a wordless energy coming through, that's a thought. It's just like, I'm just saying, like, if something says something to you, you know the meaning of the words, and then it acquires this deeper meaning. Maybe it's just gibberish from the mind. Maybe the mind doesn't know English. It's, you know, imagine that the mind doesn't know English. It's simply just using, you know, it's got stored impressions of these words that you've learned or whatever, and it's taking those and it's going blah and spitting them out. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just like, imagine you were an alien and these thoughts were coming through your head, and it would just be like noise to you, and it's just like, okay, you know. But, you know, sometimes there's a tendency of, like, thoughts that are, like, really saying things to you that if you take that seriously, like, it's a true, like, a real voice talking to you, and it's what is it, me? And it's just, no, none of that shit. It's just impression. It's just sensations. It's just movements. There's just things happening, you know. And finding the place where the happening is truly maintaining that sense of being. You find that the happening is coming and going. You are not coming and going. You are still. You are silent, and you bear witness to all things. And in that place, to round it back out, to come back around again, because I didn't make any plans for this talk. You know, yeah, just don't make any plans when you're going to create something. I've talked about it before. You know, you can have like a sketch in your mind, but kind of wait for it to come from a deeper place, and just move, like as if you're an instrument of the universe, and the universe is moving through you because it wishes to express an idea right now. And you know, it's something beautiful about this life. Has highs and lows. Celebrate them both. You know, if I sit down sometimes to do something creative and it doesn't come out quote unquote good, or like how I expected, or whatever, you know, well, what, you know, it's like, if you can celebrate that, then how can you ever fail? If I can get up in front of a crowd and just completely fuck up, completely just mess up, like music or something, I'm just gonna just completely just throw it out. I'm just gonna just play loud and horribly, and I'm just gonna make the show a big mistake, you know, quote unquote, again. And if you can do that, then how would you ever be nervous? Because, oh, what am I gonna do, mess up? Well, that's awesome, you know, let's do this. You know, you're not trying to try or anything like that. And it's just because, why does it matter? Why does any of this matter? You know, what matters is what we decide matters, you know. You know, find what really matters. What really matters is that you're alive. You know, you're alive. Life exists. The universe exists. Whether there's life or not, the universe exists, and that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I mean, that's enough. That's enough. And I'm extremely grateful and fortunate to have the life that I have. I mean, the things that I have to be grateful for are innumerable. You know, I could spend the rest of my days, all day, 24 hours a day, counting the things that I'm grateful for, that I have abundance in my life and blessings in my life for. And what is the problem? You know, I can't find it. So anyways, have a great day. Thank you.